You didn't buy Nikola because you loved trucks. You bought it because you missed Tesla, and you swore you wouldn't miss the next one. Trevor Milton knew that fear. He weaponized it. He showed you a truck moving down a road. It looked fast. It looked clean. It looked real. There was just one problem. The truck didn't have a working engine. It wasn't driving. It was falling. It was towed to a hill and released, just to look like the future. That isn't just a lie. That is how gravity replaced verification, and how belief turned into billions. The market was desperate for a hero. Elon Musk was already taken. The world wanted the next visionary. Trevor Milton stepped into that vacuum. He didn't build a company. He built a performance. He promised hydrogen semi-trucks that would change logistics forever. He promised technology that didn't exist yet. But nobody cared about the blueprints, because the stock price was moving faster than the engineering. When the chart goes vertical, skepticism looks like stupidity. So you stopped checking, and you started buying. And the first time anyone checked the engine, the story started dying. Inside the company, the reality was frantic. Engineers were told to make things look finished for the cameras. Parts were ordered off the shelf and taped together. Screens were powered by hidden cords. But on stage, Milton was loud, confident, aggressive. He attacked anyone who asked for details. He treated your questions like insults. He wasn't selling a product. He was selling a timeline you couldn't verify. And if you pointed out the holes, you weren't just wrong. You were the enemy of innovation, because the goal wasn't to build a truck, it was to build a belief. Then came the video that cost investors billions. Nikola 1 in motion. You saw a hydrogen truck cruising down a desert highway. It proved the technology was real. GM saw it, partners saw it, you saw it. But the truck couldn't move under its own power. They towed it to the top of a shallow hill. They released the brakes, and they let gravity do the rest. They tilted the camera to make the road look flat. It was a magic trick. And it worked because you wanted to believe it. That one roll downhill did more damage than any crash. Why did smart people fall for a truck that couldn't drive? Because checking is slow, and FOMO is fast. Investors didn't want truth, they wanted speed. Checking the engine meant pausing the rally, and in a bubble, pausing feels like losing money. Milton understood the psychology of the crowd perfectly. He knew that if the promise is big enough, you will fill in the blanks yourself. He gave you a shell. You imagined the engine. Gravity replaced engineering, and greed replaced due diligence. FOMO doesn't ask questions. It punishes them. The collapse didn't start with a lawsuit. It started with a report. Hindenburg Research called it an ocean of lies. They pointed out the hill, the fake parts, the fake orders. At first, Milton fought back. He posted photos. He threatened legal action. He called it a hit job. He tried to use confidence to cover the lack of evidence. But confidence doesn't make a truck drive up a hill. A jury convicted him. Nikola collapsed from a market darling into bankruptcy. Because once the hill is seen, the spell is broken. The unraveling was fast and brutal. General Motors pulled out of the deal. The stock chart, which looked like a rocket, turned into a cliff. Milton resigned in the middle of the night. He deleted his social media. The loudest man in the room went silent. The show was over, the lights came on, and investors were left holding shares of a company that had more lawsuits than revenue. The vision evaporated, the debt remained, and the loudest man in the room learned what silence costs. The billions didn't just vanish, they transferred, from regular people who believed the hype to the insiders who sold the top. People lost retirement savings, they lost down payments for houses, they bought a ticket to the future and got a ride down a hill. This wasn't a failure of engineering, it was a failure of verification. The warning signs were there. They were just drowned out by the noise of the crowd. The money didn't vanish, it changed hands. Here is the filter for the next time. Real technology allows you to look under the hood. Fake technology asks you to look at the stock price. If a CEO spends more time on Twitter than in the factory, be careful. If the demo is a video and not a test drive, be careful. And if you feel like you have to buy now or you'll miss out forever, that is not an investment signal, that is a trap. Trevor Milton used gravity to fake a truck. Don't let FOMO use gravity to crash your portfolio. More investigations coming.